This morning, but you see, what I want to do is I want to take a recent snippet from a song that many of you will recognize, and I want to use it with you as a great insight into the way that the devil is going to operate, not only in the world in general, but certainly in your life specifically. The song is by an artist, Katy Perry, and while many of you would know her or of her music, since everybody does not, what I am going to hope next will happen is when I push this button, we will hear some sort of song.
There's a stranger in my bed. There's a pounding in my head. Glitter all over the room. Pink flamingos in the pool.
And it goes on. On Friday night, this thing happens, and on Friday night, that thing happens. Some of the things are relatively innocent. Some of the things are a little bit more questionable. Some of the things are just wrong. And what she does is she moves through the song and she talks about the things that she indulges in, whether it is chemical or sexual or unlawful. Each one of those things, though, telling a little bit about what she did, and now the thing is that she no longer knows what she has been guilty of. And so she goes through the song and she talks about all of these things. What has always struck me, though, about the song is what it doesn't say. It's a lot about Friday night and that thrill of sin, and Friday night and the opportunities to sin. But I've always wondered, no matter how many times I have heard that song, where exactly is Saturday morning? I mean, if Friday night is partying and drinking and sex and overspending, where does Saturday morning come in with its loss of respect, its hangovers, its sexually transmitted diseases, unwanted pregnancies, and credit card debt? But you see, that is exactly the way the devil operates in our lives. The devil is always holding out to us the idea that it can remain Friday night forever. And that never, ever will there ever be a consequence for us on the next day. He always holds out that lure of Friday night, but never bothers to tell us that there is going to be a bill that is going to come due. You living like it's Friday night? Is there some aspect of your life right now that is controlling you, and you cannot imagine that the thrill of sin will ever be over, and that somehow you will be never called to account? You will never be caught. You will never compromise your future. You are never going to have to stand before a court of law or a family member or a parent or a school principal and have to confess that sin that you thought you had kept so hidden, and yet is really not all that hidden at all. The devil's lie that he is told so effectively, so efficiently throughout history is that it is possible to live forever on Friday night. But I think that some of us are old enough to realize that there have been times in our life that we had thought that we had constructed an airtight alibi, that nobody was going to find out, that there were going to be no consequences, that we were going to be able to be safe in our sin, only to realize at some time in the future that what we thought was going to be a secret, what we thought was going to be able to be contained, became public. And suddenly, if you are of a certain age, you move through the high school or grade school halls, and everybody knows what happened. And yours is a name that is splattered all over Facebook. And yours is the reputation that is ruined. That devil holds out to us that it will be Friday night forever, but it cannot be Friday night forever. The devil will always laugh with us on Friday night. And he will always laugh at us on Saturday morning. And throughout history, whether it has been Adam and Eve in the garden, or David Bathsheba in Jerusalem, or Peter, or Judas, or Thomas, he has always told us that somehow we can live the way we wish and never have to worry about consequences. And the train wrecks continue to pile up. How many families haven't been ruined because one or both spouses thought somehow nobody was going to get hurt? How many careers? How many business partnerships? How many friendships haven't been destroyed? How many trusts haven't been broken between parent and children because the idea was somehow I will always be able to get over the consequences of sin? I realize that as I look out at you this morning, that you are living on different days. For some of you, you are living with Saturday morning. And you are living with the consequences of your sin. It might be something that is outward. It might just be something that is inward. It is the guilt of knowing that you have disappointed somebody, you have hurt somebody. You are dwelling metaphorically in Saturday morning. I also realize, though, that there are some of you who are living on Friday night, and for you, the whole idea of being able to somehow cover up your sin and live as you want to, and to be able to do what you want to, is something that is just separate from your life here, and you have been able to compartmentalize. This is what I do when I worship, but this is how I live outside of that. But for both of you, for both of us, the antidote, the answer comes on Sunday morning. For those who are living on Saturday morning with sin and its consequences, what does it say? Just as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, that tells you something. It is Sunday morning for you. There are going to be times in your life that there are going to be consequences for your sin. And they are going to be painful. And they are going to be humiliating. They will pass. It will be over. You are accepted as God's child. But what about those of us struggling with Friday night? The antidote is found in Sunday morning, too. Because the rest of the passage says, just as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, we too may lead a new life. God claimed the victory on Easter Sunday morning. God claimed the victory, God claimed you, and He achieved that triumph not only over sin and death, but He has also then given us the ability to struggle and succeed in any temptation that we might be wrestling with. There is power on Sunday morning. There is power to be forgiven. There is power to redo that fight. And so I invite you, leave your Fridays, leave your Saturdays. You find rest on Sunday.